A very good evening to you. You're live here on GHOne TV. This is News Tonight. I'm Natalie for a look at our top stories. Coming up this evening, doctors at Tamale Teaching Hospital call off strike after intervention from the GHOne overlord.
However, we implore you to consider the lives that hang in the balance. The cessation of emergency services has far-reaching consequences, and we fear for the well-being of those who cannot afford it.
Also ahead, tonight we tell you how cocoa farmlands in Adanse Asokwa have been taken over by Galamsey as an anti-Galamsey task force seizes 13 excavators and arrests illegal miners, including a Chinese. Also ahead, investigative journalist Manasseh Azuri-Awuni pushes against decision by YEA boss to review Zoom Lion contract, insisting it must be scrapped. Security analyst pushes for enforcement of law banning the use of military camouflage attire by civilians as he slams the military for unprofessional conduct in events leading to the death of one person at Nyinahin. On the international front, final events underway to climax funeral of Pope Francis. We've got the details of these stories and much more news here on News Tonight Tuesday. Well, let's settle for the details now here on News Tonight. As always, you can watch this bulletin live all across the world on Facebook and on X at GHOne TV. Doctors at the Tamale Teaching Hospital have called off their strike following an intervention by King of GHOne, Na Abukari II. Doctors at the teaching hospital have been on strike for about 48 hours following a reported altercation between the health minister and a doctor at the facility. Earlier today, in a press conference addressed by the Na spokesperson, he announced the King's efforts of fostering reconciliation. He further emphasized the King's commitments to convey concerns of the doctors to the health minister and encouraged the minister to take steps to address their grievances. He appeals to doctors to consider the lives at stake and resume work in the interim.
An apology from the Minister of Health could be a crucial step towards healing and rebuilding trust. As a neutral facilitator, we will convey your concerns to the Minister and encourage him to take the necessary steps to address your grievances. However, we implore you to consider the lives that hang in the balance. The cessation of emergency services has far-reaching consequences, and we fear for the well-being of those who cannot afford to wait. We appeal to your professionalism, compassion, and commitment to the Hippocratic oath. Your dedication to saving lives is what brought you to this noble profession. We urge you on the interim to find a way to ensure the continuity of essential emergency services.
Well, our correspondent Noah Nash joins us now via phone. Good evening to you and thank you for joining. Well, first of all, we've got this press conference which was held earlier today and this commitment being made. What more currently do you have to share?
What I can tell you for a fact is the fact that the doctors did it for love of the overlord. According to an inside source, they said when the overlord sent his delegation to meet them, they felt a bit loved by the fact that the overlord have love for the hospital. And therefore, any concerns raised by the overlord is more of like a father of the land. Therefore, they cannot disrespect him. And so when they were addressing the media, they told us that the concerns raised by the overlord and what he promised them is also very assuring, which is something that they had in private meeting. So that alone is comforting enough. So they will go back to their members and then deliberate. So a few hours ago, then they call off the strike. So the night shift have resumed shift. Okay. And so we are expecting the rest of the other shifts to run concurrently.
Right. So this is to say that following the appeal by the overlord for the doctors to return to work in the interim, this has happened. They have returned to work as it stands.
They've returned to work, but there are conditions attached to their respect for the kingdom.
What are those conditions?
The reason being, and those conditions are the fact that the overlord's office have also promised that they would interact with the minister and then assure them that all the concerns they raised within their petition to the minister before the call of the strike, the minister will also do so. And the overlord also communicated the assurances of the minister to the doctors as well that, yes, he didn't intend to disrespect them, but the fact is that he just wants to see things for himself. But it didn't go the way they would have expected it. So it's not something that the overlord would like to stretch, that we want to apologize to you, and for that matter, the masses will lose their lives. So in that respect, that is how come they said, as long as there's an assurance that they will get what they require, then they will respect the overlord's decision.
Right. Now, finally, Noah, you say that the night shift has commenced as it stands. Do you get full assurance that the other members or health practitioners are likely to return as well? Are they all in agreement?
No, let's be clear and put a thin line. It's only doctors and consultants that have declared strike. The other workers who happens to be the other staff like nurses and others are still at post. So if you look at patients that have been on admission, they've all been attended to. And those who are in maternity, even yesterday, were attended to. So it is not like the entire hospital has gone on strike. It's just the doctors and the consultants who have gone on strike. And so as it stands now, activity for consultancy have ended today. So we will see full operation of consultancy services from Monday.
Right. Now, finally, Noah, if you didn't mention this earlier, just clarify when the doctors and consultants are expecting their demands to be met following this call for them to return to work. By which period?
Zangbalana, who actually is a spokesperson for Bewa Palace, who happens to be Dr. Jacob Mahama, gave the assurance that the Yana is actually going to engage the minister further so that the concerns of the doctors will be met subsequently within the course of the week. So that assurance has also been given by the minister already before the delegation came into the meeting with the doctors. So we are expecting and hopeful that from next week, Monday onwards, we will either verify from all those departments that lack basic essential equipment to see if there will be some changes.
Right, so approximately about a week's time. Noah Nash, thank you for the update on that developing story. Our correspondent joining us there will certainly re-engage in subsequent bulletins here on GHOne TV. In other news this evening, security analyst Samuel Appiah is pushing for the enforcement of laws banning the use of military camouflage attire by civilians as he slams the military for unprofessional conduct. His comments come after a military youth clash at Nyinahin resulted in the death of a young man. Even though the Ashanti Regional Police Command has launched an investigation into the matter, the incident that happened yesterday raises the big question as to whether it is unlawful for a civilian to wear military camouflage attire. There's more in this News Desk report. We do apologize for the loss of sound in that report. We'll bring it to you subsequently. Meanwhile, private legal practitioner Yao Dankwa believes that persons found wearing camouflage patterned cloths must not be manhandled but handed over to the police. He spoke to my colleague Emmanuel Ijabing earlier on Newsroom.
There's a clear violation in law. As you've read it, the restriction of on the use of Military Uniform Equipment Act 1960. 7 NRCD 177. Section 1 forbids any civilian to wear military attire. Section 2 forbids any civilian to sell a military uniform or equipment or buy. And Section 4 creates the offense that anyone who violates any of those provisions above will be liable to a fine or a term of imprisonment not exceeding 1 year. So there's a clear offense there. But as to whether or not the military are the ones who enforce that law, is a different thing. Having said that, even when a person violates that offense, the law prescribes that before that person is prosecuted, the Attorney General should be informed, which means that it is only the Attorney General that can bring a prosecution that can prosecute those offenders. But as we all know, the arresting powers of the land, is vested in the police.
Well, meanwhile, security analyst Samuel Appiah says the government must enforce the ban on the sale of military camouflaged attire on the open market. According to him, the military were unprofessional in handling the matter.
The issue of what constitutes a military uniform and what the Act forbid the use by civilians. Okay, so if we can classify any camouflage pattern uniform as military uniform and then the civilians are barred from using it, then first and foremost, we should enforce the law such that those who are selling them on the open markets should all be arrested and dealt with, because if those things can be classified as military uniform and that it's forbidden, then we should not also allow those things to be on the market.
Well, meanwhile, Ashanti regional executives of the NDC have condemned the killing of a young activist of the party during a confrontation with the military over his wearing of the military camouflage attire. The party's Ashanti Regional Chairman, Augustus Andrew Nana Kwesi, on behalf of the Regional Minister, Dr. Frank Amoako Hene, paid a visit to the deceased family in the Nyinahin community. Addressing the media while consoling the mourning family, he called on President John Dramani Mahama to take interest in the issue. Well, those are scenes from the earlier confrontation that you see on your screen there, happening between the military and civilian who clashed at Nyinahin, and we understand one person shot dead as a result of this alleged clash. And the Ashanti Regional Police Command has launched an investigation into the tragic incident involving military personnel and civilians at Nyinahin, which resulted in the death of a young man. The incident occurred when a group of soldiers traveling in a military vehicle with registration number 73GA36 encountered a group of young men on their way to bury a deceased friend. During the encounter, one of the young men was reportedly seen wearing military camouflage attire. According to EIB Network's Ashanti Regional Correspondent Isaac Justice Bediako, a soldier allegedly confronted the individual, forcibly removed the camouflage clothing and detained him. The situation quickly escalated, leading to a clash between the soldiers and the civilians. One person, identified as Akwesi Lala, also known as Kushivi, tragically lost his life as a result of the altercation. In a statement signed by Deputy Superintendent of Police GHOne Ahianyo, the police assured the public of a swift and thorough investigation. Well, let's turn to some other top stories this evening. 13 excavators have been seized and several suspects, including a Chinese national, arrested during an anti-Galamsey operation on April 24, 2025 in the Adansea-Sokwa district in the Ashanti region. The operation, led by Ashanti Regional Security Coordinator Captain George Kwame Jabari, retired, targeted illegal mining on cocoa farms in forest reserves and water bodies. Jabari stated the operation was driven by the growing destruction of cocoa farms and the threat to Ghana's cocoa industry. Ashanti Regional Correspondent Isaac Justice Bediako has more.
On Thursday, 24th April 2025, Captain John Kwame Jabari, retired, led a joint security task force in a major anti-Galamsey operation in the Adansea-Sokwa district. The team seized 13 excavators and arrested several individuals, including a Chinese national and local site owners, for engaging in illegal mining. The operation uncovered miners working on active cocoa farms, causing significant land destruction in their search for gold. Ekia Gladys, a widow and cocoa farmer, spoke to GHOne News about her experience, revealing that illegal miners had completely overtaken and destroyed her cocoa farm. She expressed relief and joy over the government's intervention. Another farmer, Rashida Baba, raised concerns about the targeting of cocoa farms by illegal miners. He lamented that the Adansea-Sokwa district, once known as a hub of cocoa production, is rapidly losing its agricultural value to Galamsey. He added that farmers in the area now struggle to access clean water for farming, forcing many out of agriculture.
Yes, you meant I'm here, you should be here, or have this in so to see a finishing. To see I'm cooking, I do not, it's a pagalam, a sense of coffee. You are, and there are documents, sir. You call for you to be sense, you know. And I will call for you one to your car, which we need. You call for me, so this is all the position on the answer for myself. You can say what your mother had here. And now there is a move to some money and to some.
Captain Jabari expressed serious concern about the widespread encroachment on protected lands and farmlands. He noted that while the task force had already tackled illegal operations in forest reserves, their focus is now on cocoa farms due to the increased level of destruction. He warned that if the situation is not brought under control, it could severely undermine the future of Ghana's cocoa sector.
When we went to the place that we went to, apart from them destroying the river body, a number of cocoa farms have been brought down by this menace in those areas over there. So that prompted us to come to the place, and most of the time it's not our own intel. It is the citizens over there who come and give us the information that these people are destroying our cocoa farms, these people are destroying our water bodies. That brings us to conduct those operations over there. So
the retired captain reiterated that the government is not against mining, but it is committed to promoting responsible mining practices.
Caution to illegal miners is that this government is not against responsible mining. If you want to mine, you have to mine responsibly. Stay away from cocoa farms, stay away from water bodies, stay away from our forest. Go collect your license. The government is ready to facilitate places that does not destroy any of these areas, to give you a license to go and operate. I've been to mining sites that people are doing serious reclamation as they mine, and we have not touched any of them.
According to the leader of the task force, all arrested individuals have been handed over to the police for prosecution. He emphasized that the task force is committed to shutting down all remaining illegal mining operations in the district. This operation is part of a larger national campaign to combat illegal mining, which poses a serious threat to the environment, water bodies, and the livelihoods of farmers nationwide.
Watching news tonight here on GHOne TV. Now, a high court in Accra has struck out a motion filed by the Ghana Police Service that sought to prohibit a planned protest against illegal mining in Ghana. The court's decision follows a prayer by Assistant State Attorney David Basham, acting on the orders of the Attorney General for the motion to be withdrawn. This latest decision by the court paves the way for the anti-Galamsey protest, which is expected to come off on April 28th this year. This is the demonstration against the GHOne Dramani Mahama-led government for nearly 120 days in office. Now, we are joined in studio by a leading member of the organizers of the Galamsey Must Fall demonstration, Kwame Appiah-Kubi. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the studios of GHOne TV.
I'm grateful for having me tonight.
Now, first of all, just go specifically to provide some further details on this demonstration and light of the number of days that the current president has been in office.
Okay, so let me say a very good evening to your viewers who are watching us. The Generational Right Protection Society is a group made of a lot of activists who are equally in the media space. We believe that it is time for us to amplify our voices against the things we see against environment, and then also ensure that at least the environment we see today is being sustained for the use of future generation. And so we believe that one thing that as a country we are dealing with currently has to do with illegal mining and how it's causing a lot of problems for us, and then a lot of problems not just for we the living but also the future generation who are yet to come after us. And so this is the time to talk about it. We've done that in the past, but we believe that this is the time that a lot of advocacy will have to go into it, because upon all the measures taken in the time past, I mean, we've not really seen the required result we expect. So definitely on Monday, we are going to converge at the Obra Sport at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It is our hope that by 4 p.m. late afternoon, the demonstration and the procession itself will start, and we end it all in front of Jubilee House, just around the Liberation Square, at the frontage of Afrikiko, down to the main traffic opposite the Jubilee House. And that is where we seek to converge and then end the demonstration. It's going to be from that time till the 29th of April, at least, just to drum home our demands for, a pragmatic decision and measures to be taken against what we see currently.
Yes, you say that now is the time in terms of dealing with this issue of Galamsey. But we've seen some level of action. We've had arrests having been made in recent times. On our news bulletin at Newsroom earlier today, we broadcasted that. We also even brought it in this current bulletin, and arrests that have been made. We've had even non-Ghanaians, Chinese as well, being arrested, and the facilities also being raided. So a Cocoa community, as we just brought in an earlier report, in fact, was raided. Is this are these actions not enough for you?
So you are a prominent media person. You've seen this on several occasions, I presume. And then for the many times you've seen this and for the many times you've heard this, have you really gotten the required result out of the stories you tell through your medium? The question is that it's not just about arresting people, okay? You arrest people today, the next morning they are in the bushes and then they are still doing the illegal activity. And so we are saying that we have tested and tried the models we have used and we are still using today. It has not given us the required result.
What model are you proposing?
So the model which you mentioned, we've arrested people. We are
not sufficient. What model are you proposing?
We are seizing excavators, okay? Professor Frimpong Boateng's report should tell you or give you an idea of how many excavators the Akufo-Addo government seized. And at the end of the day, it couldn't solve the problem, okay? For 2 years, Akufo-Addo's government placed a ban on small-scale mining. Yet, it was the hope and belief that after the opening of the ban or the lifting of the ban, definitely we're going to see some pragmatic and more decent way of doing mining, and that has not been the case. And so we are saying that, yes, we are not against mining in general entirely. We are only saying that it is time to take more decisive measures, because the arrest yes, the arrest will not
specifically what more decisive
specifically the president who is in power, who is in office today, promised us that there ought to be a declaration of a state of emergency. What that means is that we must stop everything associated with small-scale mining. Let's come back into our closet, come back to the drawing board, and then look at other models where we can use to do the mining without causing destruction to the environment.
I'm getting you clearly. So you're saying that the state of emergency should...
So that is one, exactly. Two, under the previous government, there was a legislation that allowed people to go into our forests. Around the country, we have over 288 forest reserves. Majority of them have been destroyed, okay? By virtue of the fact that we passed an LI which allowed people to own concessions in those forest reserves. There was a promise made to us ahead of the election. The promise was very simple. When we come into office, we are going to repeal LI 2462. Now, today we are told that, instead of a total repeal, we are going to do an amendment which will allow 10% of leverage for people to still go into the forest and mine. We are saying that no, at this point in time, looking at the level of destruction we are seeing on our environment today, we cannot still allow people to mine in our forest, because that is a threat to our basic survival.
Say that when Parliament...
Well, that is only an afterthought. We must say that is only an afterthought.
This is quite a certain statement made
that is an afterthought, because I'm saying that it's an afterthought because the government has been in office for more than 100 days. We've seen. Well, I'm not here to respond to Sami directly, but I'm coming. I'm just saying that the government has been in office for more than 100 days. Okay, there were processes leading to the amendment of that LI. It is just a U-turn the government is taking. But regardless, even if Parliament resumes and they decide to repeal, hallelujah, we like it that way because it will be a step in the right direction, okay? But we are saying that even after you have repealed the law, why do you have to tell me that you are repealing the law, and at the end of the day, foreign nationals who are coming into our country cause distractions to our environment and then take away the gold? Then at the end of the day, you have an interior minister telling you that no, when those people are arrested, they ought not to be prosecuted in this same country, the country where they perpetrated the crime, okay? But rather, we ought to deport them. Is that the case? That does not happen in any country around the world.
With you.
Okay, it doesn't sit well.
It should not have an explanation, however,
it should not sit well with any reasonable Ghanaian.
That prosecuting them can have on our public.
Public what? For how long? For how long are we going to? It is going
to take some money from the state.
No, I'm just saying that for how long? You see, we need to be decisive and precise about the things we want as a people. So first off, if you deport the Chinese, what do you gain? Well, you use that for an exchange of a loan from the Chinese government. Is that what we are saying? Let's argument falls flat. Okay. So the same government is telling us that there is a gold board. I'm coming. The same government is telling us that there is a gold board. We want to shore up our reserves. Okay. For that reason, if we are able to buy the large quantum of gold that we are expecting, then definitely our currencies will be stable. We'll be able to have the reserves we anticipate. But today, you are telling me that the Chinese national who came into the country perpetrated the crime, after which he has done that, he repatriates all the gold, okay, back into his country. He leaves the open pit, people fall into it and they die. Yet you are telling me that those people are not supposed to be prosecuted.
So you want
where do you see that around the world?
To have some impact.
Exactly. The person who is perpetrating the crime must be dealt with the laws of the state. Okay, so that is the only way we can be able to deal with it.
In less than a minute, first of all, you're saying that state of emergency, repeal the ban,
repeal the LI, exactly.
Excuse me,
allow the foreign nationals to face our laws in this country, exactly. Whatever the law requires of them, whichever punishment the laws are prescribing, let them face it. Because at the end of the day, if the average Ghanaian is going to be prosecuted and get punished, okay, for committing crimes against the environment, why should the
Chinese national who came in, imported the excavators, okay, sponsored people to do the illegality, took the monies away from our country, should go scot-free. Why? Reasonably, why should anybody think that that is the right way to go? Just because we want to secure loans?
You say this process is being held on Monday?
Yes, it is being held on Monday. So we are entreating on all Ghanaians. It has nothing to do with a new government in office. I mean, the politics of this country is enough. It is getting us nowhere as a country. We have challenges to deal with. We have problems to solve as a country. We believe that the same things we are saying today, by principle, were said in time past under Akufo-Addo's regime. We even went to the extent of going into the dungeons, the forest reserves, and arresting Chinese nationals and handing them over to the police. At that point, I mean, we're applauded for doing that.
And so,
yes, wrapping it up, I'm saying that all the people within the country must have some level of conscience. We must all come together with one voice, because the threat to our environment is a threat to our basic survival as human beings. And the future generation who equally have the right of usage of this environment must ensure that we protect the environment for the use of your kids and my kids as well. And by so doing, we will be able to save this country.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
I'm highly grateful.
We'll certainly have our news team be there at this demonstration, and we'll bring our viewers more subsequently. Kwame Appiah-Kubi joining us, the leading member of the organizers of the Galamsey Must Fall demonstration, which is taking place on Monday in the coming week. You're watching News Tonight here on GHOne TV. In other news, Justice Pamela Karanting has stepped down from her role as the Judicial Secretary. Acting Chief Justice Paul Bafo Boni has confirmed, following her resignation, which was accepted by the Judicial Council on March 26, 2025, her deputy, Dr. Cyrus Badine, has been directed by the acting Chief Justice to act until a substantive Judicial Secretary is appointed by the Judicial Council. A memo signed by the acting Chief Justice on April 24, 2025 to the Deputy Judicial Secretary stated the Judicial Council accepted the resignation of Judicial Secretary, who is a Justice of the Court of Appeal. At the 291st meeting of the Judicial Council held on Wednesday, 26th March 2025, the Council accepted the request by Pamela Karanting to be released from the duties of Judicial Secretary, which was stated in a memo. Wherefore, you are hereby directed to assume the duties of Judicial Secretary pending decision by the Judicial Council and the eventual appointment of a substantive Judicial Secretary, as stated in the memo. In other news here on News Tonight, a coalition of political parties has announced a nationwide protest scheduled for Monday, May 5th, 2025, in response to what they describe as a reckless assault on Ghana's democracy. The protest comes in the wake of the suspension of the Chief Justice and the dismissal of several public service officials. Actions the coalition claims are unlawful and deeply troubling. In a strongly worded statement issued after an emergency meeting on Thursday, April 24, the coalition warned that the foundations of Ghana's constitutional order are under threat. The group, which includes the New Patriotic Party, NPP, Liberal Party of Ghana, LPG, National Democratic Party, NDP, People's National Party, PNP, and the Ghana Union Movement, GHOne, is calling for a united front to resist what they see as executive overreach. They are urging all citizens, civil society organizations, and religious groups to join the protest, which they describe as a non-partisan effort to safeguard judicial independence and uphold democratic principles in Ghana. Well, the minority in Parliament says the suspension of the Chief Justice is a coup of the justice system. Let's listen.
The reinstatement of the Chief Justice, pending the final determination of all constitutional challenges by the Supreme Court. In fact, when there is a matter before the Supreme Court in reference to the same removal of the Chief Justice, we are extremely worried as the minority why President Mahama will still proceed to cause the removal of the Chief Justice when there is what we call the independence of the judiciary, and there is a matter pending before the judges of the same Supreme Court. We are asking for the reinstatement of the Chief Justice. We are also asking that a complete halt to all removal proceedings until the Supreme Court conclusively rules on the constitutionality of the process. We are asking that the integrity and independence of Ghana's judiciary are not and cannot, is non-negotiable. Please allow the independence of the judiciary to foster. Let us stop attacking the judiciary. We stand ready to defend our democracy, and we are going to do that against all forms of executive overreach, and we will vigorously oppose any and all attempts to turn our courts into political tools. Enough is enough. Leave the judiciary alone.
You're watching News Tonight here on GHOne TV. Let's turn to some other top stories this evening. The YEA boss, Malik Basintale, has vowed not to renew his outfit's contract with waste management firm Zoomlion in its current form. He made the statement in response to concerns about a possible renewal of the contract by some Ghanaians, including investigative journalist Manasseh Azuri-Awuni. We'll be hearing from Manasseh shortly, but because he insists that this contract should be scrapped and not reviewed. However, first, a member of our research desk, Emmanuel Ejabing, is here to share with us more on what's been transpiring on social media with regards to this matter. Emmanuel, it's good to have you in studio. First of all, let's start off with the genesis of this issue.
Yeah, so the whole Zoomlion YEA contract has spanned 4 different administrations and has seen many transformations. So it started with the Kufuor era and it's run through Kufuor, Atamils, Mahama, Akufo-Addo, and now Mahama. Now the just ended contract was in September 2024 under the Akufo-Addo-led administration. But then the whole noise around the Zoomlion contract started in 2013, where Manasseh conducted an investigation into the Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Development Agency, GHOne, and then Zoomlion was found complicit in that particular investigative piece, because at the time Zoomlion was making 18 million Ghana cedis in management fees, and they were claiming at the time that they were making losses of 18 Ghana cedis per worker.
So sweeper or
exactly. Right. So the committee that was set up to look at the whole facts of the case discounted what Zoomlion said at the time. So currently, fast forward to 2024, 2025, right. The matter at play now is that the monies due persons who work for Zoomlion, who are subcontractors, it has moved from 50 to 100 to 150 to 250. Now, for the just ended contract, the total amount paid per worker was 850 Ghana cedis. But what is due the worker is 250 cedis, and 600 cedis goes to Zoomlion's management fees. So Manasseh has been on this fight for at least 10 years, right, from 2013 to 2025, and he's still on with the fight. The just ended contract, like I said, was in September 2024, and there are hints that the contract will be renewed with the new administration. Right. And Manasseh wrote a very pleasant and appealing letter to Malik Basintale, who is now the Chief Executive Officer of YEA, the Youth Employment Agency, right, and he's asked him to not consider the renewal of the contract. So today Malik Basintale came onto social media on his Facebook X platforms, and then he wrote a very passionate response to Manasseh, where he said that he promises on his honor that he stands by the grave of his late dad not to renew the contract in its current form, where he says the contract is evil in its current form. And so he would ensure that he reviews it so that persons that are employed on this particular contract make more money. Manasseh came back with a nice response.
It's not a review he wants.
He doesn't want a review. He says that the contract in itself is fraudulent. It's already ended. So if you are going to consider a new one, find a better one to consider. And he's made that particular point, noted that when it comes to cleaning, you don't need a middleman. You can just use their local assemblies, empower them, and they can be the middleman in all of this. You don't have to use ZoomLion. Kofi Japan, who is the one that Malik took over from, has also pointed out the fact that the contract is already ended, and he fought to the point of the Jubilee House for the non-renewal of the contract because he also as well was not happy with the terms. Now the majority and minority in Parliament are also having their day with the matter, where the chair of the Sanitation and Water Committee had earlier stipulated that the contract should be renewed, else there will be some job losses. But here's the twist: the majority leader of Parliament has come out to say that the NDC caucus in Parliament will not engage with the YE on these matters. They are leaving the matters to be settled by the YE and relevant authorities. They are not meddling in the affairs of the YE. So this has been the issues happening so far. But interestingly, in the next 46 minutes, Malik Basantale will be live on Facebook, engaging with people to pick their inputs, and I'm sure Manasseh will be there as well to share his thoughts.
He certainly must be there. Talking about him, it's time to hear from him at Manasseh Zuri Awuni. Good evening to you. He's joined us via Zoom. It's good to have you. Now, Manasseh, as Emmanuel just highlighted, for about 10 years now, you've been on this issue, hitting hard on it. And you haven't seen this reviewed contract, have you? And in the case that you haven't, why are you so convinced that this agreement must be scrapped at all costs?
Thank you, Natalie, for the opportunity. We don't need ZoomLion as a middleman in this. And the reason is so simple. If you go to the greater Accra region, the AMA, for instance, they have employed their own people to sweep the markets. If you go to Makola and those places. And the reason they are doing this is that over 1,000 sweepers were supposed to have been deployed to the AMA through ZoomLion. The AMA doesn't see these workers. The AMA writes to the YEA, and YEA says, well, we don't also know the numbers. The numbers are with ZoomLion. And this is how it has been for a long time. Since I started this in 2013, those who are supposed to own the sweepers don't see them. And it is in the interest of ZoomLion that these sweepers, a lot of them don't show up. In 2017-2018, the YEA tried to do a head count, and they said, look, the numbers ZoomLion presented as 45,000 was way too high, higher than what they found on the ground. So they asked ZoomLion to send or present the payroll based on which they quoted, or the company quoted, those numbers. You can go online. The CEO at the time, Justin Frimpong Okodia, who is now the General Secretary of the MPP, said at a press conference that ZoomLion failed to submit the list. The immediate past CEO of the YEA also said in the minutes of 13th October 2022 that when the AMA requested the list, they didn't have it because only ZoomLion has it. Now, we can't operate in a system that those who are supposed to benefit from the workers don't get the workers. Those who are supposed to be paying have no control over the workers. And take it or leave it, ZoomLion has become a canker, monster of a sort, an albatross in our system. And it has been involved in a lot of shady deals, including being banned by the World Bank in Liberia. So when you have this company that is so powerful dealing in these ways, the people are not able to benefit. The question is, would I be happy if any other company gets this contract aside ZoomLion? Right. It is no. The Bongo District Assembly has a sanitation department. Every assembly in this country has that department. Their duty is to supervise the cleaning of their markets. They used to be effective with sanitary inspectors and Saman people. All of those contracts were given to ZoomLion. And as we speak, the assemblies have no say. Right. Finally, you bring a middleman in. Right. A chunk of the resources goes to the middleman. Currently, we have 850 cedis allocated, and then 600 goes to ZoomLion and 250 goes to these sweepers. Even if all the 850 were given to these sweepers, in these economic situations or the circumstances we find ourselves in, it would still not be enough. So we don't need any middleman. That arrangement is fraught with irregularities and corruption and all of that. Just let the assemblies give them the number of the people. These are your people. Supervise us to sweep the market. If your markets, if your streets are dirty, we are holding you responsible.
So you are of the view, and you asked the question I was going to. You sort of almost answered it, but then you say that it's not the case. It's not just with ZoomLion, but with any private organization, because we do have that debate as well in terms of the fact that whether government alone can effectively handle or effectively manage this task. If there is a new company aside ZoomLion made responsible for this, are you certain of the fact that it wouldn't work?
That wouldn't work. It would still be a fraudulent arrangement. It would be the politicians bringing in somebody to make money. It is not only about ZoomLion in this arrangement. Mind you, the nature of this contract is when the sweepers finish collecting the garbage, the truck that lifts it to the disposal site, ZoomLion has a different contract that pays for it. So this 600 per person and about 20 million cedis every month we are talking about is just for the sweepers. When they finish sweeping and collect the garbage, disposing it off is under a separate contract called Sanitation Improvement Package, which every district assembly in this country pays through their common fund every quarter.
Manessa, brief now, for purposes of time, there's also the argument of job losses, right? Certainly receiving currently 250, but be it even 850, as you put it, is not sufficient given the current economic times. But there are job losses that are likely to be seen if it's completely scrapped and the contract is not reviewed. You're not concerned about that?
No single person is going to lose their job. The supervisor is going to change from ZoomLion to the assemblies. And more people are likely to be employed because as we speak, the allocation is 45,000, but a lot of them have stopped working because either they are not paid or the pay is too bad that they don't even want to work. If this is streamlined, the people would only have to report to their respective assemblies. No single person is going to lose their job. They will rather be better off because they will be paid more, the conditions of service are going to be better, and we get more people doing this job than before. So nobody is going to lose their job.
Now, finally, in the event that Malik Bassi Ntale goes ahead with reviewing it as opposed to scrapping it, you've been following this issue for be it about 10 years. What's your next line of action going to be in the event that it's not completely scrapped?
Well, after I did my first investigation in 2013, the government set up a committee that made adverse findings. If you read page 131 of the GHOne report, you will find that ZoomLion was supposed to have giving money back to the state because they charged and did not do the work and all of that. We expected the government to have prosecuted, but the only people who were prosecuted were Abuga Pele and Philippa Sibit. And that was a very small contract breach as compared to ZoomLion and RLG and Zira Group at the time. the government has a responsibility to Ghanaians, and the government is the one that is able to prosecute acts of corruption. So there isn't much individuals can do than to draw attention to this daylight robbery that has been foisted on Ghanaians by various governments. The Mahama administration claims it wants to do oral, Operation Recover or Loot. And I don't think anybody would take this government seriously if they go ahead to continue this kind of arrangement and claim to be recovering loot. You cannot do oral in this country without touching Zoomlion.
Manasseh GHOne, thank you so much for your time this evening. You're watching News Tonight here on GH1 TV. More on that subsequently. In other news, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Environment, Science and Technology has renewed calls for the legislative action to support waste separation at source, describing it as a crucial step to enhance the operations of waste management companies in Ghana. The committee, led by its chairman and MP for Manso Edubia, Yao Frimpong, made the call during a working visit to the Integrated Recycling and Composting Plant in the Seshri Rioso municipality of the Western North region.
Members of Parliament on the Select Committee on Environment, Science and Technology say legislation on waste separation is long overdue. Chairman of the committee, Yao Frimpong, during an inspection tour of integrated recycling and composting plants, emphasized the need for a legal framework to guide and support waste separation across households and institutions.
There's one thing that is clear in the two facilities that we visited, that is waste separation. It is quite central for the management of waste by this company, and I'm sure this applies to all other companies. And this is something that is within the domain of the committee, because it must come by way of legislation, and it's something that we are going to take it up, because it is very, very, very fundamental.
He further expressed concern over the government's indebtedness to Zoomlion Ghana Limited, warning that the continuous delay in settling arrears could derail the company's operations and discourage other private entities from entering the waste management space.
Is working hand in hand with government to create a very congenial environment for all of us to survive. Therefore, government should do well to pay all the arrears that we source.
The committee's visit forms part of a broader national engagement strategy aimed at assessing and supporting Ghana's journey towards sustainable environmental practices.
Next on News Tonight, we bring you business news.
Welcome to NLA 590 Mobile. Today we will discuss how you can win cash.
Country managing partner of Deloitte Ghana, Daniel Owusu, has urged the government to take steps to drastically reduce the importation of food items such as rice, maize and poultry, among others, as a matter of necessity.
Established 9 years ago, the Ghana CEO Summit and Expo serves as a platform for in-depth dialogue and thought-provoking discussions focusing on the growth and development of the Ghanaian economy. The summit features top-notch chief executive officers from diverse backgrounds ranging from technology, telecommunications, industry, energy, academia, among others, for knowledge sharing to spur economic growth. Speaking at the launch, the country managing partner at Deloitte, Daniel Owusu, called on the government to reduce the importation of items that the country has the capacity to produce.
The feed Ghana, the feed industry are very important because they will not only feed the nation but also serve as raw materials for manufacturing industries, leading to job creation. We will therefore want a deliberate effort by the government to make this work. We must also be deliberate to cut down importation of certain foodstuffs such as rice, corn, poultry products. We believe that as a country, we have capacity to produce these agricultural products in Ghana abundantly.
The founding CEO of the network, Ernest de Graaf Ijui, highlighted the importance of the summit, saying that considering global and local challenges that the country is faced with, innovative leadership must be prioritized.
The summit has established itself as the leading platform for fostering bold conversations, creating high-value partnerships, and unlocking economic transformation. This gathering offers CEOs and decision-makers a platform to discuss practical and scalable solutions to today's business and economic challenges. It is where leadership meets action, where strategy meets policy.
In his keynote address, the executive chairman of KGL Group, Alex Dade, emphasized that technological transformation remains a key tool for economic development, hence the need for collaborative efforts to achieve this.
KGL Group, we fully appreciate the power of strategic platforms such as the CEO Summit. We know that the transformation does not happen in isolation. It is achieved through purposeful collaboration, candid engagement, and a shared vision of progress.
The summit, scheduled for May 26, 2025, is themed Leading Ghana's Economic Reset, Transforming Business and Governance for a Sustainable Futuristic Economy.
GHOne has announced the highly anticipated date for this year's Praise Reloaded concert. The event, now in its 13th year, will take place on Saturday, June 29, 2025 at the LWAC Sports Stadium. Speaking at the press launch, GHOne said this year's edition will be free to the public.
Prime musical concerts. The 2025 Praise Reloaded concert by multiple award-winning gospel artist GHOne promises to be thrilling. This year's concert, dubbed Festival of Gratitude, will be held at the LWAC Sports Stadium with a plethora of spectacular ministers scheduled to perform. GHOne says patrons should expect nothing but an experience of gratitude.
This year is a theme that God gave us, gratitude, and then we put it together as the Festival of Gratitude, where it's going to be a gathering of grateful people. It's not only us that God has been good to, we believe that He's been good to many people. So all those people gathering in one place to lift up a sound of gratitude, a prayer of gratitude, that's what this service is about. So on the 29th, we're all gathering at the LWAC Sports Stadium to lift up the name of the Lord like never before. It is free.
Speaking to the news team, some ministers of the gospel who are expected to grace the stage expressed their excitement in anticipation of this year's concert.
This year, the theme itself is amazing. Festival of Gratitude. A place that we are gathering to show our gratitude to the Most High God. So you think what will happen on that day? Come. You just come on the 29th of June. Come and experience this power.
To be able to join him this time also on Praise Reloaded is a big honor. It's one of the biggest stages over the years in Ghana where
this year's concert will feature international acts including Nkotonzo Mbambo from South Africa and Nathaniel Bassey from Nigeria.
And on the international front this evening, hundreds of thousands of people are expected to attend Pope Francis's funeral on Saturday in St. Peter's Square, among them world leaders, Catholic officials and mourners from around the globe. Many heads of state and royals have confirmed their attendance, including Prince William and French President Emmanuel Macron, amongst others. Pope Francis's vocal opinions on global issues occasionally put him at